I feel really bad for all of you Raiders fans out there because you guys are one of the most dedicated fan bases in the NFL. You guys pour your hard-earned cash and money into this team, buying tickets to go to the games, paying all that money for jerseys and merchandise, just for this front office to slap you guys in the face year after year by making dumb decisions in the first round. Outside of Josh Jacobs, the only thing that the Raiders know how to draft in the first round are bust and future convicts. Not just that, but after the end of last season, right, they came out and said that Derek Carr wasn't good enough. So they get rid of Derek Carr, and you may be thinking to yourself once they get rid of Derek Carr that they're going to end up upgrading at quarterback. You're probably thinking you're going to trade up for the number 1 overall pick and get Bryce Young or CJ Stroud or Anthony Richardson. But instead, you end up going from Derek Carr to Jimmy Garoppolo. How is Jimmy Garoppolo an upgrade from Derek Carr? At best, going from Derek Carr to Jimmy Garoppolo is a lateral move. And many of you Raiders fans going into this season are more excited about the potential of being able to draft Caleb Williams or Drake May than you are about watching the Las Vegas Raiders this upcoming season. And I don't blame you. Anytime you're going into the year with Jimmy, fragile luggage, fragile cargo, Mr. Handle with Care Garoppolo, I probably wouldn't have too much optimism myself. And when you look at Josh McDaniels, I told you guys last year and I'm going to tell you guys again, this guy is not head coach material. Some coaches are just meant to be good coordinators and they don't make good head coaches. And Josh McDaniels is the prime example of that. And you got to ask yourself, is this team really equipped to compete for anything worthwhile this season? I mean, let's just be honest. Once the playoffs rolls around, the Las Vegas Raiders are going to be in two places. Either on the couch watching it from their home, or they're going to be planning their vacation spot in Cancun, Dubai, LA, wherever people go after the season ends for their vacation. Because the Las Vegas Raiders do not have a good team. You look at what they did in free agency. Their best free agent signing was cornerback Duke Shelley. And then they bring in another cornerback in David Long. Like, imagine this. The Miami Dolphins gave the LA Rams a 3rd round pick and the tight end named Hunter Long for Jalen Ramsey, one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. And back in 2019, when Jalen Ramsey demanded a trade out of Jacksonville, he begged to be traded to the Raiders. And the Raiders did attempt to trade for him, but they just weren't willing to dish out the necessary compensation that Jacksonville wanted in exchange for Ramsey. And then this offseason, Jalen Ramsey is available again. And instead of improving your secondary, you decide to do the bare minimum. And that's all this organization does year after year, the bare minimum. Like, are you guys really excited about Jimmy Garoppolo being your starting quarterback this year? Are you really excited about Aiden O'Connell potentially being your franchise quarterback of the future? Like, if you are a Raiders fan, please answer this question honestly. Why do you continue to support this team that does bare minimum? Why do you continue to pour money into a franchise that makes dumb decision after dumb decision after dumb decision? Josh McDaniels should never have been hired as the head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders. You know who should have been the head coach for Las Vegas right now? Rich Bisaccia. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced his name, but I found it funny how he was the only head coach this past decade outside of Jack Del Rio to take the Raiders to the playoffs. And remind you, this guy was an interim head coach. And yeah, you say, you know what? We don't think you're good enough to be our head coach. We're just going to hire Josh McDaniels, somebody who is proven to not be a good head coach, who has a losing record as a head coach, and we're just going to hire him. It's no surprise that the Raiders season went the way that it did last year. And this year, I don't see nothing changing. You really think that this roster is going to be able to go toe-to-toe with some of the best teams in the NFL? Let's be for real. You guys signed linebacker Robert Spillane. Robert Spillane, dog. He was a backup linebacker for my Pittsburgh Steelers. And he's projected to be a starter for you guys. You guys really think that Robert Spillane is going to improve your defense? I mean, when is the last time the Raiders had a good defense? I've been on this earth for 21 years. I've been watching the NFL for 12 out of 21 of those years, and I have yet to see the Raiders put a halfway decent defense on the field. I mean, how is this defense going to be able to slow down Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, and hell, even the Broncos with Sean Payton, one of the greatest offensive minds in the history of this game? And yet, this defense just wants to go ahead and think that they made some okay additions by bringing in David Long and Robert Spillane. Now, I'm not going to trip on signing Duke Shelley because Duke Shelley was really good last season. All right? But outside of him, the Raiders didn't really make any significant free agency signings that make them a better team this season compared to what they were last year. This team is headed in a direction that I think is more leaning towards rebuild than it is contender. And I came across a really interesting article. Davante Adams did an interview with The Ringer, and he had a really interesting quote. He said, the front office thinks this is the best bet for us right now to put us in a position to be urgent. We don't see eye to eye on what we think is best for us right now. I agree with you, Davante Adams. You don't see eye to eye with what the Raiders are doing right now. And I'm pretty sure a lot of Raiders fans share the same feelings. Because what the hell are they doing? Like, truthfully, do you really think that Jimmy Garoppolo in the AFC, home to the majority of the best NFL quarterbacks, is going to be able to guide you to the postseason? This was your upgrade from Derek Carr? I mean, what are they doing? Are they even trying to win? Like, why do you guys support this team? I honestly want to know, why do you guys continue to pour in money that you spent your hard-earned time, blood, sweat, and tears to earn into this team that continues to BS you every single year? What the Raiders did this offseason was a slap in the face to your fan base. Like, you guys should be outside of the Las Vegas Raiders facilities right now, protesting, begging for this team to do more. Because all they do is the bare minimum, and what they've done this offseason is a great example of that. They could even successfully trade for the number 1 overall pick. They said that the Chicago Bears were asking for too much for the number 1 overall pick, so what the Bears were asking for was too much for you to go ahead and get your franchise quarterback? You could have Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Anthony Richardson, but instead you say, you know what, we're good with Jimmy Garoppolo, a guy who you don't even know is going to be able to make it a third through the season fully healthy. I mean, what the Raiders are doing right now makes no sense. This team is unequipped to compete in the AFC. Like, why trade for Davante Adams if you don't plan on building a championship caliber football team? They do know that Davante Adams is 30 years old, right? If the Raiders aren't trying to win anything, why would you even try to trade for him? So after this season, I'm really interested in seeing what's going to be Davante Adams' future with the Raiders organization if they don't make it to the playoffs this year. And I promise you, this team won't make it to the playoffs. For all of you Raiders fans that are trying to come in and trying to find a little bit of hope and a little bit of reason to be optimistic about this team, just stop it, because all you're going to do is make yourself sound foolish, and you're going to give yourself a headache, because there is nothing to be excited about when it comes to Las Vegas Raiders football. I mean, Josh McDaniels is a crappy coach. Dave Ziegler hasn't proved to be a good general manager. Like, why are y'all trying to get excited about this team? The small percentage of Raiders fans out there who are trying to say, man, we got a chance if everything goes right to win 10, 12 games. No, the hell you don't. The only thing you guys are going to be competing for is the opportunity to get Caleb Williams or Drake May in next year's draft, and maybe who's going to end up being the first to hop on the flight to Cancun, Dubai, Los Angeles, Cuba, wherever people go to vacation after the NFL season is over. I really feel really bad for you Las Vegas Raiders fans out there, because you guys deserve so much better than what you guys are getting right now. I mean, did they even try to improve the offensive line? Honestly, like, this offensive line was crap last year. And instead, they continued to bring back most of the guys who started last year. They may switch a couple of guys' positions around, but this offensive line is not going to be better than what it was last season. Like, this team is unequipped to compete in the AFC. And not just is this team not equipped to compete in this conference, but they're not even equipped to even be able to win more games than what they did last year. Like, let's be honest. How many games do you think the Las Vegas Raiders are realistically going to win this year? I say at least 5 or 6. I can't see this team winning any more than 6 games. They were lucky to win the amount of games they won last year. You have to thank the New England Patriots for giving you that gimme. I don't know what the hell they had going on at the end of that game, but this team is headed nowhere. And most of the fan base pretty much knows that, but you have a small percent that thinks that the Raiders could shock the world. The Raiders aren't shocking the world. Not with Jimmy Garoppolo, not with Josh McDaniels, and not with what they've done this offseason. If you're a Raiders fan, you should be really disappointed. You should be outside of their offices, outside of their headquarters, protesting, because this team literally just spit in your face. You put all your money into supporting this organization, and they continue to put a BS product, a bare minimum team, every single year. This team is not equipped to compete for a championship. This team is not equipped to even be able to compete for the last remaining spot in the AFC wildcard. Do you think they can get the 7th seed in the AFC this year? I don't think they can. I feel really bad for all of you Raiders fans out there. This team just acts like they don't care. It's been like that for damn near 2 decades.